Cast. Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to FGM Cast. We are here tonight at COTA, Circuit of the Americas. A very different track tonight for the trucks and NASCAR itself. We are up in the box. Of course, I am up here with Stuart. How are you going, Stuart?
Yeah, very good, everyone. Welcome to FGM Cast. As Carl has introduced, COTA tonight for the trucks. Going to be a really interesting one for us. The driver feedback that we've got is, I'd fair to say, probably on the left-hand side of not great. Difficult to drive, particularly through the sweeping S's. Turns 3, 4, and 5, or 4, 5, and 6. I'm sure I'll get corrected on that. And it's going to be a challenging one for the guys tonight, 25 laps.
Yeah, it is indeed. It's really going to be a tough one out there tonight. These cars, they are not exactly designed for these road courses, and COTA is one of those tracks that is very difficult to get right in the best of circumstances. It's probably a lot easier when you're driving a car with high downforce like a Formula One car, but when you jump into a sports car even, COTA is notoriously difficult. So in one of these trucks, it's almost like trying to drive a bus around the green hell of Nordschleife.
So just put up on the screen here for tonight, obviously we are at round 9. I say obviously, I can't believe we're already at round 9 of Season 1 truck season 2021 for ANZCAR on FGM Cast. Thanks to AJ Insurance Services for bringing us the round summary. And key points tonight's drivers will definitely have to pit once here. Some talk amongst the drivers of maybe pitting twice to get fresh tyres with around about a second a lap tyre deg. Some of them are considering doing that to take up the advantage of not having to worry too much about it. Of course, the truck's already being reasonably tricky before they get started. Turn 1's going to be crazy. Managing the trucks through the S's, we're just talking on that now. And look out for the circuit racer here. Those who are reasonably strong on the circuit going to have a big advantage as they try to manhandle these trucks. Last round, we did see Ed Foster take his maiden season win in the trucks, and current series leader even is Stephen Williams. He will be strong tonight, never fear about that.
Yeah, that's it. Foster not here tonight, opting out of this one, I think. Jumping in for the race last time at one of his favourite tracks, of course. We are going to see the circuit specialists really flourish tonight. People like Andrew Dyson, Chris Burnell, Michael Skurlock, Neil Pearson. Those definitely guys to watch out for. You've got people like Luke Traherne, Norman Clark. Norman Clark, a lot of experience, of course, in racing. Nathan Clark is up there as well. So you're going to see a few different names up the top. Stephen Williams might struggle a little bit for overall pace tonight. This could be a chance for maybe Luke Traherne to try and jump up a little bit in the standings, but it's going to be tough. What I'm going to do quickly is just run through the championship standings as they are after 8 races. So Stephen Williams is up at the top with a total of 253 points. Behind him, 71 points behind, is Luke Traherne with 182. Such a big gap up at the front. Third place is Riley Curtis with Christopher Finlay in 4th. Matthew Raymond, is in 5th with Kay Donnell in joint 6th with Ruben Phelps. Ruben Phelps jumping to Mark 1 Esports this round. In joint 8th position, we have Dwayne Priest and Michael Skurlock. And then in 10th place, we have Troy Davidson. So we're going to see a few changes of position in the championship. It's quite tight up there in the top 10 from second down, really. So up at the front, Stephen Williams has got it pretty much locked in, you've got to say.
Yeah, absolutely. That 70-point gap is going to be very, very difficult for Luke Traherne to overcome. Really, the only man with any chance of doing it, as we've only got 3 more rounds to go after this round. So really looking here, Traherne does do a lot of circuit racing, but so does Stephen Williams. So both going to be reasonably strong here, we feel, tonight. And probably not going to be the round that Traherne is going to make up that gap. Looking really, you don't really want to talk about it that way, but really, Stephen Williams is going to need to, DNF a race for Traherne to really get right up against him, I think, and likely to that happening is reasonably remote.
Yeah, that's it. Stephen Williams has done a fantastic job this season. Of course, being a full season entrant has helped him, but having 7 top 10 finishes has definitely helped out. 6 of those up in the top 5. consistency has been key for him this year, as well as having that victory as well, of course. It's been a very good year for Stephen Williams, and you've got to say he is looking so good up at the front. A brilliant story for Luke Traher as well. Great job this season. He's only done 6 starts compared to that of Stephen Williams' 8. He's had 3 wins this season, 4 of them, 4 top 5 finishes. So pretty much almost every time he's raced, he's been there or thereabouts. A brilliant season for Luke Traher and really coming in strong. But I say as well, Riley Curtis having a really good season up there as well in 3rd position. He's going to want to keep that going strong. Another driver hoping for a bit of better results this weekend. You've got to say Aiden Schultz. Hopefully, no giant black cats will leap out in front of him in this race, and we can see a good finish.
Yeah, he's definitely struggled with the luck that you need this season so far. So looking for him to get a good run tonight and get the result that car that he is driving has certainly been capable of. He's had a really good go at it this season despite the bad luck. So we'll see what comes of that. It's been a challenging one for him, but I think that's going to improve. Looking at the moment at around about a 2:17 as the fastest pace that we have seen. Just dropped in there, Dave Douglas, with a question about the lap times around here. So 2:17, so we're looking at around about a 50-minute race or so when you take into consideration pit stops tonight, 24 laps. So it's going to be challenging because we've got about 1:20 to go into qualifying. Expecting to see at least definitely 1 stop. They're not filled up to get 2 stops. Around about lap 19, we will see our first tranche of pit stops, but there is some talk, as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, of drivers maybe doing a double stop if they're trying to get a better run out of the tyres, grip at a premium in these already.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it could pay off going for a 2-stopper in this race. Obviously, you can take a little bit less fuel in that situation and get a bit of a quicker stop. Changing those tyres does take the time, of course. That's the thing that does take time on these cars, because it's not like a Formula 1 pit stop where you have about 60 people per wheel changing those tyres. You've got a couple of guys running around there with a single wheel gun doing the best job they can. But you could find an advantage, at least with overall pace, getting those fresh tyres, because they do go off quite quickly. They build up a lot of temperature going through those fast S's as you get into turn 3, 5, 6, 7, up to turn 9, really, and that's where the temperature really shoots up. You've also got that really tricky aspect towards the end of the lap as well, that long straight that seems to go on forever down towards turn 12, where it's our second timing spot of the lap. Then you go around into the that sort of right-hander. Sorry, just trying to remember my lefts and rights there. But it's a very sort of long, drawn-out right-hander that does narrow on the exit around about turn 18, and you can get a lot of tyre temperature through there, and that can cause a lot of issue. And got to say, luckily enough, we had the wrong information up on the Facebook page, because it said 45 laps tonight for Kota. Luckily, we're not doing that, because that would have been us here for most of the weekend, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. I saw that when they originally put the schedule up, and I thought 45 laps. That's nigh on ridiculous, but no, corrected during the week. So 25 laps tonight. And as is usual of the stream, we're going to jump on board with the car that was out first, and in fact, that was Michael Skurlock. He is running the 350, the bright green 350 numbered Crank Esports entry, and he's had another really consistent season. In fact, starting pretty much every race on the front row of the grid. So we'll jump on board with him for the first flying lap tonight at Circuit of the Americas. Thanks to AJ Insurance Services, we are here tonight, and certainly looking forward to bringing this one to you a little different to what we normally see here. So we're looking out for purple sectors is what the drivers want to see. Green sectors mean it is their fastest sector of the night, but purple means they are the fastest in that particular sector, and of course you want to see them get to the top. So we will stick on board here with Michael Skurlock and let him take us around Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, and I'll talk you through the lap once we get to the start-finish straight. We're just on that back straight at the moment. Going to get up to some serious speeds here. These trucks are going to get up to around about 260 kilometers per hour at the peak. You might get up to about 265, 270 if you get behind another truck. And then it's that hard braking zone. Just heard from Bill Hickey as well, just saying it's going to be a very tough race out there tonight. Not the exact words he used, but I won't say those in fears of us getting taken off the air.
I think maybe you might have just been referring to the compound of the tyre there being overly hard, but we'll see. You can make up your own mind with what he might have said there, but so we make our way here through the last sector of Circuit of the Americas. It's a very fast-flowing track, which is what makes it difficult in these utes, aside of anything else.
That's $20 to the ute jar, Stuart, I'm afraid.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, we'll talk to Billy after this one and get that money from him.
As we come through turn 20 here onto the start-finish straight. So we're going to go uphill here. And this is one of the really interesting factors about this track, actually built on an old trash dump, this one. You're going to go uphill here into turn 1. It's a very, very tight left-hander, this corner. But you're going uphill, so you can use gravity to help you brake. You're going to drop down to about first gear here. A little bit of a late apex there for Skurlock. Now we come down into turns 2. This is a very fast-flowing right-hander, lifting off a bit as we come through here, not putting too much stress on the truck. Now comes the fast-flowing S's, so turns 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see left, and right again. You've got to be very careful going through here because it's so easy to go off the track and you can incur a penalty, and that's going to be the big story for tonight, is off-track incursions. You can very easily get a time penalty. Coming into turn 6 here, we're going to come across the first timing line up to turn 7. Now we come down the hill, going to go through turns 9 and 10, and now we come down to turn 11. Turn 11, very, very harsh left-hander, and this takes us back onto that very, very long straight. There's a little bit of a kink in it. Circuit of the Americas, of course, was built on a reclaimed land over in Texas, and was some sort of speculation that there may be trouble later down the track for it. As we come down into turn 12 now, very, very, very hard left-hander, lots of braking going on here. Very good opportunity to overtake, though. Now we come into the right-handers, 13 and 14. There's a bit of a kink here, and it's almost a single turn. You're basically going to late apex it through this corner so you can get a good run into turn 14. Turn 15 has a kink into it, which you have to be careful of. Put on the brakes for turn 15, which is just here. You've got to get the apex just right. Skurlock's done that perfectly. Up into turns 16, 17, and 18. And this is that hard right-hander, and this is where temperature can really build up in those tyres. Got to be careful of pushing the truck through here. The rear end just steps out a little bit. Skurlock holds it perfectly as we come to turn 19. Left-hander, very easy to make a mistake and run wide here. Back down to turn 20 and back onto the start-finish straight. What have we got from Michael Skurlock here in terms of lap time? We're soon going to find out as he will cross the line, and it is a
2:19.9.
2:19.8.
But he's just been pipped by his teammate there, Chris Purnell, putting a 2:19.62 at the same time, and only one shot at it here. So with the 5-minute time limit.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers were caught out by the time limit there because it is such a long outlap here. A lot of those drivers were still doing their lap as they were out there, and a lot of them got surprised. Of course, you don't get extra time to finish your lap in ANZCAR, so you've got to take advantage of it as quick as possible, and a lot of those drivers have been caught out by that. So expect to see a few drivers out of position here. This is going to make for some interesting racing. One to watch out for is definitely Andrew Dyson down there in 7th place.
So we'll just run quickly through the grid here. Chris Purnell there, just pipping Michael Skurlock for the front of the grid here, pole position, but Skurlock again maintaining that form of being on the front row of the grid as we get into this one. We've got Devon Stove, Luke Traherne off row 2 with Riley Curtis and Aidan Schultz off row 3. Andrew Dyson, Neil Pearson off row 4 with Nathan Clark and Aaron Major off row 5, followed by Nathan Rawlock and Ruben Phelps off row 6. Keep an eye out for Ruben to make his way through the field. As we skip back, we've gone Kay Donnelly and Matty Raymond off row 7 with Nathan Button, Stephen Williams off row 8. We've got Norm Clark, Paul Jackson off row 9, Billy Hickey and Carl Hoffman rounding out a relatively light-on grid for the truck series this evening.
Yeah, quite a few people, I think, avoiding this race. It's not a track that, as I said, people are not too keen on COTA. It's one of those tracks that people tend to not like that much. it's a bit of a tricky. It's a tricky track to race on as well in these cars. As I said before, even when you're driving things like a GT3 around here, you can very easily get caught out. It's not the easiest track for some cars. Very fun though when you've got a high downforce car, sort of driving an LMP car or a prototype or a Formula One car, of course. But this is going to be a pretty juicy race at the front. The Crank Esport boys locking out that front row. Devon Stove, the only car out of place there for Crank Esport, as they managed to get all of their cars in the top four there. Great job for them. Then just behind them, of course, you have Mark 1 Esports with Riley Curtis, Aidan Schultz. Andrew Dyson, good to see him there in DPR car. He's definitely one to watch out for, Stuart. Seen him have some good racing in the road races.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one in the audience. Dave Douglas just saying that Chris Purnell should be pretty racy off the front there. Absolutely, Chris Purnell of Virtual Motorsport Mentor ownership as well. So if anyone's going to get it done around the circuit here, it'll be himself. Michael Skurlock, no slouch, nor Luke Trahere, nor Devon Stove. There are probably at least 10 drivers here who will be extraordinarily competitive as we get set to go, coming under the Bud Light Bridge there, just towards the back end of the circuit, and albeit a small grid here, this one's going to be wild.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you the question, Stuart. Who's your pick for tonight?
Can't go past Purnell.
Purnell. I'm actually going to go for Dyson. I'm going to throw the dice and go for Andrew Dyson tonight. But Purnell is definitely a strong contender. The Virtual Motorsport Mentor himself, he is a driver of renown on these road circuits. Michael Skurlock as well, but Chris Purnell is going to be one to watch for sure.
Dave Douglas in the stream here, siding with you, Dave Dyson, Andrew Dyson. My apologies. He has his dollars on, but we're coming around the final corner here, getting ready to go two abreast as we get this one underway for round 9 of ANZCAR Truck Series from Coda, and it is Chris Purnell and Michael Skurlock who's get us underway. Devon Stove there missed the start a little bit. He's got Luke Trahere on the outside, and Trahere goes past him into the braking zone. Everyone's going to have to be careful here. Cold tyres, we said it early in the stream. This turn very tight indeed. It looks like everyone's going to make their way through. A little bit of lock breakdown there. I think it might have been for Cade Donnelly just down into turn 1, but he's made it through there. Nathan Button just jumping off track slightly there, but still he will return back on with no damage at all. Dropped a few places, but it is Purnell and Skurlock away early here as there's a little bit of pressure a bit further back in the pack. It looks like Riley Curtis putting the carry on to the to Devon Stove indeed in front of him. And
Devon Stove looking to try and get the job done as we come up to 7, 8, 9. Devon Stove managed to get underneath him, as well as who was that? Neil Pearson as well. Neil Pearson getting the job done as well. Neil Pearson, no slouch on road circuits. We saw that in the Cup Series. He just pushed Riley Curtis a little bit wide there. Aidan Schultz coming down Riley Curtis's inside. He locks up big time as they go through that tight right-hander, but he has managed to keep the car just slightly ahead, given his teammate the opportunity just to keep ahead there himself. Those two DPR cars now have a bit of clean air to try and catch up to Cade Donnelly up there, who is getting passed right now by Andrew Dyson.
Yeah, in fact, it's just Devon Stove there who was getting passed. But absolutely, with Andrew Dyson making his way now up into 4th position behind Luke Trahere, Michael Skurlock, and Chris Purnell.
Yeah, Neil Pearson just getting a bit loose and wild into that corner. I apologise, Devon Stove. Similar coloured cars, and that throws me out too easily. I should learn my lesson from that one. But yeah, Devon Stove doing a good job of keeping up there. We've seen Devon have some good races this season, and definitely one of those drivers that is making a name for himself in the series. We saw it at Bristol in the dirt. Really great job from Devon Stove in that race. But up the front, we got Chris Purnell in the lead at the moment, and he is trying to run away with it a little bit. Michael Skurlock 2nd, Luke Trahere 3rd, and Andrew Dyson there in 4th place.
Absolutely, and Devon Stove here, just around 2 seconds back. He's still got Neil Pearson right behind him as Aidan Schultz just drops back 1 place behind Nathan Clark. In fact, Luke Trahere here has been passed by Andrew Dyson. So there we go. Dyson now up into third place, and he is in pursuit of Michael Skurlock, about a second up the road from him. So he has made good progress up 4 places. Good call from the audience and yourself. And he's doing a cracking job so far, up into third now from qualifying position of 7th.
Yeah, Dyson doing a beautiful move there up into turn 1, just catching Luke a little bit off guard. He was the last of the late breakers, and that's something you can do here at COTA, of course, because you've got that very, very steep uphill section at the start-finish line. You can brake very late here, and he took advantage of that completely, going up the inside of Luke Trahir. Just behind him, Neil Pearson and Devon Stove are battling away for position. It looks like Skurlock's gone off. Skurlock has locked the brakes into turn number, where are we? Turn number 11 there. He's locked the brakes, got very squirrely there, gone wide, and that's allowed Dyson and his teammate to get through. He went completely sideways, managed to catch the car though, almost caught his teammate out. That gave Neil Pearson the opportunity to catch Devon Stove a little bit napping, as he was just watching that little bit of shenanigans in front of him.
Yeah, and actually what that's meant is that Andrew Dyson's moved up to second. We just got notification that Nathan Clark has crashed. We'll bring you a replay of that in a moment. But Andrew Dyson now up into second place. I was going to say, just before that all happened, one thing to note at the moment is Steve Williams down in 13th position. Luke Trahir, his closest contender in the championship, currently running in 3rd place. But Steve Williams known for managing his race quite well, so keep an eye on him throughout this race tonight.
Yeah, well, I imagine Steve Williams is going to go relatively sort of soft, I'd say, not too hard in this early stages. Try and keep the tyres in shape. Here we are with Nathan Clark, I believe. So coming down into turn 11, I think we are, and he's just lost it. He's actually got caught by the 85 there. The 85, Nathan Rollock's gone right into the back of him, spun him around. Rollock just braking way too late into that corner. It's very tricky sometimes as it is slightly downhill. Lost the rear of the car, and then it's just gone straight into the back of Nathan Clark there.
And while it hasn't helped, Rollock there redressing after that incident, so good from him. But that has obviously affected Clark's race.
Yeah, meanwhile, up the front, we've got a battle starting to shape up between Purnell and Dyson. Dyson is right on the back of Chris Purnell here as they go through those S's and they head back towards that long straight. I've got to say, Dyson has got some serious early pace here, but is he using up the tyres too quickly? A little bit further back, you've got Neil Pearson right on the back of Skurlock as well. So a lot of action going on right now. A little bit hard to know exactly where to look. Always a tricky thing on road circuits.
Yeah, absolutely, particularly when they spread out a little bit, as this one has. Matty Raymond's just gone off track in the background, so has Steve Williams. Now, these are notifications that we get in the broadcasting software that we use. The critical thing about them, more than whether or not they're actually incidents in the race, is the track point limits, as Neil Pearson just goes blasting by Michael Skurlock there. But the track limitations tonight, we've got, I believe you said it was 12 incident points before the drivers get a drive-through and 17 before a disqualification.
Yeah, that is correct. So that is the big one. You've got to be very careful, as right now Luke Trahir has Pearson all over the back of him. It's like a rash at the moment. Pearson is really, really doing a great job there of bullying Luke Trahir out of the way. Luke Trahir just braking a bit late, loses it slightly, and you can just see there Neil Pearson used that opportunity to get up underneath him. Great overtake there from Neil Pearson.
Yeah, absolutely, getting the job done. And just switching up to the front here, you did call it before, Dyson now starting to apply the pressure to the back of the Crank Esports 920 of Chris Purnell. 2:17.75 last time around for Andrew Dyson, fastest on the track by some margin. He did a 2:17 against the 2:20 of Chris Purnell. Things come a little bit back towards them now with a 2:20 even between them, as Billy Hickey, I've just got notification, has had an incident as well.
Yeah, and just as we see going through turn 1 there, Dyson just using a lot more of the curb in that corner. He seems a bit more confident over the curbs than Purnell at the moment. But as I said, this could be a false charge by Dyson this early on, because he might use up his tyres a bit early for this race. Got to be very careful of overheating here. Track temperature is quite warm, if I recall. It's about 32 degrees on the track temperature at the moment, so it's quite warm. But obviously, when you're going through these tight S's, when you're going through these very fast corners, these cars really like to heat up their tyres. These things are not light. They're not your sort of average race car for these tracks. They've got a lot of horsepower, and they can very much chew up those rear tyres when you put your foot down. You've got to be so careful. You'll see these drivers not using full throttle. They'll be applying throttle like applying ointment to a burn or something like that, very gently indeed, and really, really keeping it so they can don't put too much pressure on those rear tyres, because you just don't want to burn them up. And that's what Purnell's doing at the moment. He's just not pushing the car too hard. Meanwhile, Dyson is putting a bit more pressure on the car, and that could come back to bite him in about 5 to 10 laps' time.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, the pit crew's here a lot smaller than a typical race team. So if you want to get the tyre change done, it's going to cost you a fair amount of time. Looking at lap 19 or so for the fuel stop, anytime between now and then. But for tyres, if you can get away with not changing to save yourself a decent amount of time, maybe move yourself up through the field as well. So as we're just looking at the back here of Purnell's truck, just on the nose of Andrew Dyson, and you can see he is pushing here, he's hunting, trying to find a way to get around Purnell. And you can also hear that change in terms of what you're talking about as he gets right up behind him. In terms of how much throttle the guys are using, just having to nurse it, particularly out of the really slow first gear corners. The narrow tyres on the truck in comparison to the horsepower just means that it's very, very easy to light them up. So they've been really, really careful, particularly out of the last corner, particularly out of turn 1 here as well. Just hear him feather the throttle.
Watch Dyson just catch up a little bit as they go into that first corner. I'm just going to jump back a little bit to Devon Stove and Aaron Major as well. Good little battle going on here for 6th and 7th as Devon Stove locks up a little bit. This is going to give Aaron Major in the 555 a chance on the 61 as they come down to the S's. They are getting very close to each other right now. That battle is going on and is pretty fun to watch at the moment. But again, it's just trying to keep an eye on. We don't want to lose anything on the front at the moment either. So it's keeping an eye between these two. But up the front, it is still neck and neck between Purnell and Dyson. Those two are still dueling it out. Very, very good little fight there. But Devon Stove and Aaron Major are giving us some great stuff on the track as well. There's a few battles going on throughout the field as we jump to Aidan Schultz down there in 10th position at the moment. He's got Matty Raymond, Nathan Clark, Stephen Williams right behind him, and he's trying to chase down Cade Donnelly, who's got a nice bit of a gap. He's just behind Riley Curtis. So those guys are starting to just sort of spread out a little bit through the field, but it is getting a little bit dicey through the field now. There are a couple of people that are getting a bit close to each other and starting to apply some pressure to each other. So that's definitely something to watch out for.
Looks as well like Luke Traherne and Michael Skurlock just working together here just to create a little bit of a gap where they can. Obviously, it's not an oval track race, but the draft still exists, and they managed to break that of Devon Stove and Aaron Major to them. So
just jumping
working together.
The front. Sorry, Stuart. We've got a drag race going on between Purnell and Dyson as they come in to 16, 17, and 18. They were side by side as they came through here, and Purnell is looking a little bit squirrely through the corners right now. Dyson looks to have a little bit of a better rear end on the car. Purnell is just struggling a little bit on the exits, so this could be the chance for Dyson to make the move, especially as they come onto the straight here. It'll be interesting to see what happens on this straight section here. Dyson looks to have a little bit of better drive, as we do have an incident a bit further back between Matty Raymond and Mr. Black Cat himself, Aidan Schultz, unfortunately. Cade Donnelly as well. He spun the car going into turn, just into turn 12. They've jumped up on Cade Donnelly. Aidan Schultz lost a bit of speed from that one, and then Matty Raymond just nerfed Schultz just as they were going into the corner. Raymond just braked a little bit late, spun Schultz around, and that has that's hurt his race a bit.
As we look at the replay there.
just the tiniest little punt there. It was just barely a kiss, but when the truck is in a corner like that, it's very easy to get off settled. And that's dropped Aiden Schultz down to 14th position, just in front of his new teammate, Ruben Phelps. Ruben Phelps jumping in to the Mark 1 eSport team, coming in from
Activity Hub Bali.
Activity Hub Bali, yeah. So nice to see a little bit of team changing going on in the season. But Ruben Phelps up there with Mark 1. Got to say, good choice for them as a driver, because he has been having a stellar season and really been doing some great drives this year and making a name for himself in both the trucks and the Cup Series.
Made it hard for us, though, with all the driver changes this season so far. I tell you what, you try and get used to a truck with a particular livery on it for a driver, and then 2 weeks later they've changed. It's like the trade season in the English Premier League. It's just ridiculous in ANZCAR, but it's good that the driver market's quite vibrant and teams are growing. Just shows you the strength of the series, but a very good acquisition there for Mark 1.
Absolutely, and up at the front here, Dyson is putting all kinds of pressure on Chris Purnell. He is really trying to put the screws on him at the moment, but Purnell is showing that he is not one to break easily. He is not going to be jumping out the way for Andrew Dyson, who definitely looks quicker in that car. Last time round, they set pretty much identical lap times, 21.678 to a 21.645 for Andrew Dyson, just a tiny bit closer. Side by side again down the straight here. Dyson on the outside this time, Purnell on the inside of turn 1. Who's going to get the brakes down latest is going to be Purnell. He's going to hold that inside line. Dyson could try for the up and under here. Doesn't quite have the grip to do it this time round, but he is trying all kinds of lines at the moment to get past Purnell. Doing a great job of applying the pressure, but you've got to say Chris Purnell is doing a fantastic job of taking that pressure on his shoulders and not braking.
What a camera angle we've got here, as you can see them coming through the sweepers, the S's, whatever you want to call it, as Purnell there gets a little bit sideways, just trying to manage the rear tyres and manage the pressure as well from the 41 of Andrew Dyson behind him. Both guys just doing a great job here with throttle control, keeping the battle nice and close, as well as Billy Hickey jumps into pit lane.
Yeah, Billy Hickey there, one of the first to blink for some fresh tyres. Actually, very much stuffed up pit entry. I'll talk you through that. He's actually locked up the rears coming into pit lane and made a bit of a pong manoeuvre into the pit lane, bouncing off the walls, getting into pit lane. Not much damage on the car though. He should be absolutely fine with that one. And just coming in for those bit of fuel and fresh tyres on. Oh wait, no, actually it was a drive-through. Billy Hickey getting a drive-through there. So the first person to get a drive-through, so he's definitely got the instant points up there.
Yeah, Billy Hickey there, just never too sure of the accuracy of the software here in terms of this, but suggesting that he has accumulated 10 incident points so far in this race.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. From the drive-through there, so definitely got a penalty on that one for Billy Hickey. Unfortunate for him. So the first driver to be caught out by those track limits. We're not quite as forgiving as some of the FIA series with their top forms of motorsport, where you can drive a very wide line across those white lines and do whatever you like. Very different here, as you need to stay within those white lines and keep the car on the circuit. And that's what these drivers really need to do, and it is very hard in these trucks, as again Dyson is all over the back of Purnell like a rash. He's doing a great job. He pulls out from behind him. They're going to go